I was involved in Holocaust education to this day. And about 10 years ago, after I retired, I committed myself to volunteering every single day, helping other people. That is my commitment.
I feel it's very important that we do something for humankind. I feel that it's important that we give back for what we have been given. And I think it's just imperative that we give back.
Those of us who've had some success or some good fortune in life have an obligation to try to help and improve the community. And there's the Jewish principle of tikkun olam, and I think that starts at home, starts in your own community and not just the whole world. So I think it's a good thing to be active.
I spent the day with Warren Buffett, and one thing that he said really stuck out was he said it's called the ovarian lottery. You never know where you're going to end up in the world, and you want to make sure that you could end up anywhere under any circumstances. And seeing as you don't know where you're going to be, you try and make the world a better place.
It was a lifestyle that I grew up with and that I've raised my family with, to always help others. And I once heard a quote, I think it was, that said, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." And that's really has motivated me.
I had a gifted guidance counselor who gave me a job when he saw I was bored in a program for people with developmental disabilities. And in that program, I found home. I just loved it. And so it became my career. And I was so motivated to help everybody as a professional. And then 10 years later, I had my own son with Down syndrome.
It goes back to the lessons that my late parents, Sam and Francis Sack, taught me. We talk about tikkun olam, repairing the world, or the concept that we're responsible for one another. They taught me that those aren't just things you talk about over coffee. Those essentially are calls for action. And for me, it resulted in career choices and essentially lifestyle choices in terms of wanting to make a difference.
My family and I have been very fortunate, and we have a genuine desire to give back to the community. We know from personal experience there are many great institutions in Cleveland and in other areas, and we would like to do anything that we are able to strengthen these institutions.
I believe that my deeds and action are firmly rooted in deeply held Jewish values of chesed, tzedakah, and tikkun olam, of kindness, justice, and repairing the world. These basic life tenets, which combine head, heart, and soul, provide a context and a framework for me to live and to work, to give voice to others, to strengthen community, build bridges of understanding, help those who are less fortunate, and work to make the world a little bit better than we found it.
Whether it's kissing the mezuzah, lighting the Shabbos candles, or helping the poor and visiting the sick, every one of those acts make us feel like we are holy.
I think what it means to me is pretty much what it means to everybody, which is an obligation to make things better. I think my view might be a little bit different because I view it as both an individual obligation and a community obligation. And I think that the only way it really gets done is if the community works as one community as opposed to a number of individuals just going off and doing it on their own.
Focusing more on the world as it is today and not thinking about what will be in the future or an afterlife, but thinking about what we can do to make where we're living right now a better place.
It's very important that we have our eye on the target. And the target in today's world is a vision towards making this world a much better place.
We both have tried to instill in our children how important it is to help others, to give back to the community, to do things that will help people improve their lives.
It's definitely been a guiding factor in how I choose to live my life and the reason why I became a social worker in the first place. What a better way to repair the world than to help people for a living.
For me, Tikkun Olam means to be the best person that I can be and to help people be the best people that they can be as individuals and as groups.
What we do every day in terms of Gemilut Chasadim, acts of loving kindness, this is what we're instructed to do, so that every act, everything we say, is a part of making the world a better place.
Of an improv, there's the idea of yes and yes and to me is really what Tikkun Olam is to say, I see you, I hear you, and I'm going to do something to help you, to acknowledge you.
First and foremost, about simply acting with kindness. It's about bringing your best self to the world, and everything that you do and say, that is what will truly make the world a better place.
I'd say that Yom Kippur is my favorite holiday. It's extremely memorable, it's meaningful. It's a day when you reflect back on the past year and you look forward to what you can improve and make better for the year coming up.
Passover, we get to drink wine. We remember how we left Egypt. It's really a holiday of freedom, and it's really a time for family to be together for Pesach.
My maternal grandmother. She passed away when I was 14, but she was a feminist before her time. She came over steerage with 2 little babies, and my grandfather was ill, and she had to make a living and support the family. And she always was a model for me.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I always told my kids if I ever got a tattoo, it would be RBG on my arm, because she just has all those attributes that I find so admirable. She's tenacious, she's smart, she came from adversity. Her mother died when she was young, they were Russian immigrants, and yet she worked to change the conversation about gender equality and human rights in general.
I would hands down choose my grandparents. They were immigrants of Nazi Europe, and to hear their stories one more time in their words, in their voices, and with their accents is something I would love to be able to do.
I would have enjoyed being an OBGYN because it's got to be tremendously exciting helping people bring new life into the world.
I'd like to keep doing what I'm doing every day as long as I can. I'm going to be 80 in April, and believe me, I would like to continue doing this for as long as I'm physically able to.
I probably would be just volunteering where I work. I'm not the best with downtime, so I think I would probably just be doing a lot more in the community in other ways by volunteering, and definitely traveling more as well.
I'm reading Essays on Ethics by Rabbi Jonathan Sacks. The guy's just brilliant. It's reading people who are so much smarter than you is, to me, an amazing experience, and I think everybody should really try to do it. He takes a view of Judaism that's important because it shows how truly ethical a religion it is.
So you want to talk about Race by Ijeoma Olu, and it's very similar, I think, to the principle of Tikkun Olam. It's saying where you have privilege and where others have oppression, it's your job to use your privilege to help lessen oppression in the world.
So I'm just finishing Yossi Klein Halevi's letter to my Palestinian neighbors. And on deck next is John Meacham's The Soul of America and Doris Kearns Goodwin's Leadership in Turbulent Times.
I wish I'd taken better care of myself. I should have exercised more, and I wish that I had spent more time studying liberal arts and not been as focused on business and things like that.
Perspective matters, and sometimes you just have to reframe events and think of them a little bit differently. And with the passing of time, things will look different.
I would advise myself to be a Cleveland sports fan, but to have patience, because you have to wait till next year very often. and have a dog and enjoy your dog and love your dog.
My parents were Holocaust survivors, and arriving to this country, we were settled in Cleveland. And many years later, in 1972, my parents helped us open the first Chabad House of Cleveland, and today we have 18 Chabad centers in northeastern Ohio.
I grew up in Northeast Ohio, grew up in Cleveland Heights. I was away for about 15 years. I came back primarily to be with my aging parents and support them. And as an adult, I fell in love again with the community, a community that gave me so much.
My favorite TV show has been Star Trek. I love each of the iterations, but especially the first one, and the social issues that the shows dealt with were wonderful.
I do like watching Born That Way, which is a wonderful show about adults, young adults with Down syndrome, and then little people, because here again, in the same way as in Born That Way, a person gets to see that, little people, have regular, normal lives.
3 things. Number 1, believe in yourself. Number 2, never ever give up no matter how bad things look. Number 3, nobody is better than I am. And I'm not better than anybody else, just different. And I'll live by that all my life.